Welcome to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast with your host, Jody Betty.
Hi, and welcome to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast. I'm your host, Jody, and today we are here with my friend Fabio
Ponzoni, yeah.
Fabs. Fabs. We're going to call him Fabs. Thank you for coming on the show, my friend. It's so nice to finally meet you and talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting. I've been following your spaces on X for a while, and it's an honor to be here.
Awesome. It's my pleasure. I read a little bit about you, and you've had such an interesting journey. So, I'd like to get into that and tell me about, some of the beautiful things you seem to have done in life.
Awesome. Yeah, ask away. There is a lot to do.
Yeah, I know. So what started you in your journey with mental health?
Cutting it short, my own anger issues. Very, very easily. I didn't know until 10 years after that I was actually really into mental health. I really wanted to help people, but it all started with my own problems. Like most of the time, why personal trainer start a nutrition program because he had nutrition issues in the past, right?
Yes.
And that's probably the biggest motivator. Either you yourself or someone very close to you suffer of something and you become passionate and you want to solve it. And then if you solve it, you just you don't want to stop there. You just become an advocate. You want to help people because now you don't want to see anyone else going through the same trouble.
Yes, absolutely.
Help, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Story.
Yeah, same for me. Like it's such a gift to be able to turn my trauma into something that I can now give back to the world, and help as many people as possible. I feel like it's almost like, a calling for me. It's like a necessity because it was how I had to make some good of my trauma. There had to be something that came out of it. So I'm glad that I was, blessed enough to be able to have the gift of gab.
Yes, absolutely. I totally understand. Yeah.
How did you deal with your anger issues?
Yeah, it was a long process. So it started when I was probably like 12, 13, grew up in a beautiful environment, but a lot of small teenagers gangs around that ruled the town, right? Every time you go dancing and you're 13, it was a Saturday afternoon, there was always a little gang outside the dancing club, just doing horrible stuff to everyone.
Yeah.
I didn't like it, and I was becoming stronger and stronger because of my professional water polo training. I started very young. I started swimming when I was 3, started water polo when I was 6, started professional water polo with a senior club when I was 12.
What? That's so crazy. You must be so fit. That sport, I swear to God, like, what did their legs ever get? I played football for like 40 years pretty much. And, I ran a lot. But water polo, I'm just like, oh my God, their legs, are they ever going to get tired? They're just going to sink. It's so crazy.
I mean, your endurance become like unlimited, basically. There was a point when I was 17, 18, after 5 or 6 years of training twice a day and 3 matches during the weekend. I reached the point that doesn't matter how much I was training, I was never getting tired. Even giving my whole every time was quite ridiculous. Thinking, and now I'm not at the level anymore. I'm 40. But when you start so young, I was 12, I was still the smallest and skinniest and lightest player because I was playing with people that were like 25, 30, 35 years old.
Right.
So even if you are less fit than me, they were double my size. So my way to compensate, it was not only my way, it was even my coach, my senior team coach was telling me to be very aggressive, still within the rules, but very, very aggressive. That was the only way for me to compensate the difference, 20 kilos difference, and a strength difference, and even skills different. I was fast, but I had so much to learn. So that unfortunately didn't stop outside the pool, right? So and when they're 12 and 13 and 14, it's very hard to differentiate between the pool and the game and your life. So I became that aggressive person in life, right?
Right.
I was able to switch it on and off. I was not constantly aggressive, actually. No, with my family and friends, I was totally fine. But every time there was an episode that I didn't like, those gangs outside clubs, people that was pissing me off, I was triggered, similar to a pool. Every time you do something in the pool, I try to, get back to you. It was impossible for me to switch it off at that time. So I had many episodes that, at the time I regret. I don't regret it now because I see the bigger picture. I see a teenager that doesn't have any guidance. I see a teenager that is giving his whole heart to a sport. And no one was telling that teenager what to do, what not to do, what's right and what's wrong, right? So it's a lot of lessons learned after failing, right? After things that I wish, I hope now to help teenagers at that age to avoid as soon as possible. So that's my trigger on mental health.
Yeah, that's awesome because, that's such a crucial age, and there's, so many kids out there that either don't have two parents or, don't have a parent that can provide that type of, emotional support and guidance. And to get the conversation started anyway is just, it's such a gift. It's such a gift.
I don't think, I'm 40 now, so we're talking about 25 plus years ago, 28, 25 years ago. In Italy, especially, I've never heard of anyone starting those conversations, especially not with teenagers. Everything was just under the rug. Okay, you had problem, no worries. Let's hope, finger crossed, it's not going to happen again. Under the rug. You have another problem a month later. Oh, let's put a tape there. Let's hope again it doesn't happen again. So never, no one. I had other friends with other problems, not anger issues, but other problems. No one was addressing those problems. It was considered a weakness. Talking about that, you just go over it. Bang your head on the wall. That kind of attitude that luckily I see very, very much changed now. But there is still a lot of problem around. It just more natural and easier to talk about and to find someone to talk about. Everyone supports, even workplaces. I worked in the last 10 years with a lot of workplaces around the area, and they are more than happy to invest some of their budget into mental health. I don't say there was any workplace 20 years ago doing that. They will be like, no, either like sales, marketing, production, but no mental health. So you have a lot of employees that leave, a lot of employees that are unhappy, the manager themselves, the burnout, a lot of issues that actually cost you a lot more money along the way on any other aspect. So I love the trend, not the speed of change that is happening. I'd like things to happen a lot faster, but I understand it's not an easy thing. So I'll do my best, right?
Yeah, and it sounds like you're doing a great job. Like I know that you do your videos, and that's got to connect with a lot of people, and everybody's story has such a big ripple effect. You may help one kid, but then you don't know that kid's helped 10 kids, and then it just goes on, and before you know, your one conversation has affected 100 people. And that's a gift to be able to give that. So, we appreciate
it's just
the
very
mental
hard,
health community.
It's just very hard to stay motivated for many people. I had the pleasure to work with in this past 20 years to stay motivated because you don't see the ripple effect. You just need to trust and believe there is. And there is for sure, but you will never have those numbers, right? Once, when the people like money in their bank account, you actually see your graphic, you're like, oh yeah, I started here, I'm there. It keeps you motivated. You don't honestly see how many people you help during those 20 years and the actual effect of those people helping other people. It's absolutely enormous. It's life-changing, but you don't see it. So I see a lot of people getting demotivated because of that. But hopefully we won't.
Yeah, I think the trend is trending towards, the more that people are healing, the more that they become healers. And the trend right now is it's to heal, or to at least start that journey. You take the baby steps that are needed, and as long as it keeps kind of going in this trend, slowly but surely we'll get there one day, I hope.
Absolutely. That's
Now
the spirit.
you've done some traveling as well. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of part of my journey. Of course, I coach people, but I coach myself first, right? I started with myself. The first probably like 5, 6, 7 years, I was very young, and I started coaching myself, learning and talking to other coaches and so on. And that part of this massive travel I've done, you're probably referring like just a year before COVID, 2018 to 2019. I left my new home, New Zealand, because I was born in Italy, moved to New Zealand more than 10 years ago. I left a beautiful environment, very safe space, beautiful friends, and awesome jobs that I was having, and clients, the safety and security to just go around the world and volunteer. It's something I always wanted to do, but I never found myself in the space. And again, honestly, if someone is listening, you'll never find the right time. If you want to do something,
yes,
really want to do something, you really care, you know it's going to change your life, you need to do it today, because you never found the right time. You think today is not the right day, you wait a month, it could be much worse positioning than it was today.
Yeah.
Start small. You don't need to, quit everything I've done and travel the world for 12 months, but start today, because honestly, the right time will pass. So I wanted to volunteer, not just travel. I didn't go to resorts and go to the beach and enjoy life. I loved it, but it was tough. And I did a full loop around the world. From New Zealand, went to Canada. Couple of months.
I'm in Canada.
Beautiful. In the Yukon, up north.
Oh, wow.
Wow, it was beautiful, but very remote, very small. We were just helping a farm and protecting the mountains, and monitoring wildlife. It was beautiful, but it was June, so bear country.
Yeah.
Bears everywhere. We were quite scared. Whistles and pepper spray. I had an encounter with a grizzly in the middle of the forest by myself.
Oh my gosh.
Luckily both of us, myself and the grizzly, got scared to death, and we ran the opposite way. But it was like, like double my arm reach for me. He jumped from the bush.
God.
I thought it was another animal, and stupid of me, because I had no experience in bears. I wanted to photograph that, and it was a bear, big one, double my size. But luckily got scared immediately, and he ran the other way, instead of get scared immediately and jumped me.
Yeah.
So I ran back into my cabin, like walking backwards with the pepper spray, and I stayed there until the morning after.
I would have done that too.
Yeah, I was looking out of the window the whole time, and what did I do? I'm such a newbie, a tourist coming to the mountains and thinking he can take a photo.
I know. I would have done the same thing. I'm a photographer. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was taking beautiful photos out of nowhere because everything was beautiful. But bears, it's their country. They call it bear country for a reason.
Yes, absolutely.
So they are the right to be there. You just have you need to just go around the way.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful. So from there, I just briefly went to Italy to say hi to the family. But then from there to Nepal.
Oh, wow.
2 months in Nepal, volunteering in a local school in Kathmandu, and then I did a 17 days hike in the Himalayas.
Wow.
Just because you meet, it's not so remote. There, even at high altitude, there are small villages where people live their whole life there. And I wanted to see that. I wanted to actually see the people that are almost not affected by tourism and technology.
Mm-hmm.
And they live like they were living 1,000 years ago. The only difference is that now if they see a tourist, with a camera, they don't scream and don't like, who is that?
Yeah.
They know.
Yeah.
They know, but they don't use anything. They're very rugged, but they grow apple at high altitude, just orchards. They're just beautiful to see what they do. From there, I went to the Philippines, then Malaysia, and that was more like related to nature, but still working with the local community to cut down palm trees and the palm oils. and to protect the native forest, where you see like crocodiles and snakes everywhere, and leeches and mosquitoes.
Oh my
in
gosh,
in the jungle with the mud until the knee, just cutting vine. Beautiful experience, but very tough. And from there, I went to the highlights, basically, and the low lights of the experience was Africa. I really wanted to spend some time there, but it was just completely different place. Tanzania was tough. People were like completely different from what I expected. The place was amazing, but people were, toward white people, they're quite very, very pushy. They had a concept of like, we are ATM machines where we spit money.
Yes.
We spit money out of every hole. And, because of my personality and stuff, we didn't get along very well. There were a few young guys, like in early 20, taking advantage of girls. They were younger. They were, volunteers from the rest of the world, Australia and Europe. They were actually there to help, but they just took advantage. So I had a few encounters that I had to do. I had to actually confront them. That was in my nature. I couldn't just stay still.
Yeah.
So it was tough. People try to rip you off. They steal money from you. You get money back, but the people are stealing money for someone else to get your money back. Just tough to trust in humanity after that. But luckily, next to Tanzania, we went to Uganda. Uganda was beautiful. The people were the opposite. I guess it was more like the actual place we visited. In Tanzania was a bigger city, full of people going there for safaris. So the locals knew that people had money, to foreigners. In Uganda was the opposite. We visited a remote village, 7 hours driving in the middle of nowhere. People were beautiful, they were actually giving us everything they had. So you see these two complete opposite, which is crazy. It's similar to going from a state, from Seattle to Vancouver and see two different worlds completely.
Yes.
People and how they approach you. So at least they restored a lot of faith that we had in humanity in Uganda. Beautiful people. We actually are still in touch 5-6 years.
I love that.
Yeah, they're amazing. I wish we could help more, but I'm a big believer now that you as a white person from the West, the classic, we have money. We cannot just go and buy their freedom or their happiness. The thing that we did, it was more like teaching them, helping them, and then it was up to them to start anything. So what we did in Uganda was starting a website for them and a way for them to actually promote the volunteering project around the world. And they had nothing, right? We found them randomly, but they didn't have any system. So now since then, they've had tourists and volunteers because of the system. Just a ripple effect that you mentioned, right? We told them how to do it, but then it was not us doing it, not us giving them money the whole time.
Right.
Which was beautiful. And then Namibia, just traveling and seeing the culture there. We didn't volunteer. It was just beautiful place to visit.
I bet, yeah.
It was just out of this world. It's like Mars on steroids. Namibia is literally like the most beautiful thing I've seen, probably. Then South America, Bolivia and Peru, met a lot of cool people, did a lot of hiking in the mountains with the locals, and helped some small communities. But we saw a lot more like similarities in South America compared to Europe or even New Zealand. It was so much easier to communicate.
Yes, yeah.
Beautiful. And from there we came back home. So there was a full trip around the world in 12 months. More than half of it was actual volunteering, so staying in one place and working with the locals.
That's so incredible.
The rest was in between. The rest was logistics and some hikes and stuff.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So the whole thing, just to wrap it up, the whole thing was to really get out there, really get to know different cultures, different people, different backgrounds, talk to them, work with them, and see how they actually reason, who is right, who is wrong, is there right and wrong, and to restore some hope in humanity that I had lost for a little while. And honestly, I did not because humans are the most beautiful species in the world and so on. I don't believe much that we're just one of them. We're one of them.
Yes,
but
sir.
because there is people that are beautiful around the world, there is a lot of them, and they're worth fighting for. Of course, there is always, the lows. But now my vision is quite the opposite. Now I think that 70-80% of the people are amazing in the world. Then there is a 20% that they don't know what to do in their life, and then there's, of course, there's a 10% that there are the negative part. But
yes,
I'm very positive. I love people. I love helping people, and I love sharing what I learn, in my life and in my journeys. Because the most amazing thing is just opening your mind. That's the most important thing you should be doing, is not getting stuck into your mindset. What one parent taught you the whole life. It might be true, it might be not. You need to approach it from different angles to actually understand where maybe your issues are coming from, right?
yes. It took me, I had like obvious trauma that I knew about, but I packed that away and, went out through my teens, and then my mom died when I was 19, and then I played soccer or football and partied in my 20s, and then in my 30s I started healing, and then I was like, no, not ready for this yet, so I kind of packed it in, and then 5 years after that I was like, okay, you know what, I have some issues. I need to recognize what they are. So I started therapy. So I did 5 years of trauma therapy and CBT and DBT. And then I took a trauma coaching course, mostly so I could, learn even more about, the cycles of trauma, and try and work at stepping out of them, because with my abuse happening when I was so young, my brain was it brought up in a cycle of, negativity and fearfulness and that kind of stuff. So I'm on my journey now, and, I'm loving it, because it's not like, for me, rediscovering, because my trauma was so young, there was no pre-trauma. So now it's totally discovering like all the things that I'm passionate about, and, seeing the world without those trauma glasses on them, and seeing, before there was only one path, one door, and now there's like all these paths I didn't even know about, with doors everywhere. And, I have the freedom and the strength to choose what I want to do.
Yeah, it's beautiful and powerful, right? When you actually say that you don't need to go anywhere else than just sitting in a chair and looking outside the window if you want to, and find all the doors and open all the doors you want. And it's said that people don't really want to do that little step at the beginning, to talk to someone, to open it up, because they focus so much on other things that have no value to them. And they don't realize that any problem can be actually solved just by sitting and thinking and talking and listening, especially listening.
Yes, absolutely.
Opening their mind first to themselves and then to others. I strongly believe that 99% of the issue that we have now in the world are just miscommunication of people not listening to each other. That's why they all fight so hard. I'm right. Most of the time, you are both right. You're just not listening to each other and just fighting. So it's a communication issue, because there's this massive wall, and people don't care. It doesn't matter what you're saying, right? So just opening up and sitting and listening, like, you're right, I'm right. There's nothing we should be fighting about.
Yeah, absolutely.
This doesn't happen too often, right?
No, it really doesn't. It really doesn't. It's, almost like something they need to put like in the education system, is like how to freaking communicate, how to express your emotions. And, I know people say, it's okay not to be okay, which is, it's great. But to get the conversation started needs just a little more than that slogan, It needs active people.
It's more like, I always continue, it's okay not to be okay, but not to stay okay. It's not okay.
I like that. Yeah.
So it's totally normal, right? Our life goes up and down. There is no way no one in the world would just have like this, like always better, always better, always better, never
Yes.
right? You always go down. Sometimes you go down like a stock market, 40%. And there's nothing you can do, even if you're the most amazing person in the world. But it's not okay to stay down 40%. That's you responding to that reaction, right?
Yes.
You should drive the up. So if you zoom out in a whole year, you should be slightly better. In 10 years, you should be much better, right? So it's a zoom out is the most important thing. So it's not okay not to stay not okay for too long, because you need to take charge of whatever happened to you, right? Sometimes it takes longer. There are things out of your control that are much harder to solve than the normal flu, whatever it is. But you're the only one that can actually solve it. So roll up your sleeves and get up there plus 40%.
Yes.
And you'll say it, right?
I said, like, even with trauma, like if you're in a trauma episode and you get up and have a shower, I'm proud of you for that little thing. And that's 1% better today than you were yesterday. And, if you aim for 1% or 0.5% a day, even when you slide back, you've still made a gain, and you will still continue to make the gain. You'll still continue to progress as long as you put the effort into it. And trauma is a funny thing because it's dumped on us, but we can't dump our trauma back on whoever gave it to us. It's now our responsibility to heal and to, learn to react to situations in a different manner. And for me, like, just changing perspectives of how I look at things and listening to so many people's stories and their perspectives on things has helped me to, grow and learn, so many different changes of view, and how that one little point of view change can literally change so many things in your life.
Yeah, no, totally. The classic boat trip. Imagine you're on a boat and you do like a tiny little change in the angle, but almost invisible. But if you keep that different angle for a year or 10 years time, you end up in very, very different position, right?
Yes.
Like miles away. So you don't need to go to do 180, you completely go the other way around. You just need tiny adjustments sometimes, but in the long term, you end up in a completely different continent, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's a great way.
There is someone I never remember, because I never found who said that, but much wiser and successful than me. But they said, we overestimate what you as humans can do in a year time. Overestimate that. We expect, everything happen like this, but we vastly underestimate what we can do in 10 years time. As long as you put on the work, right? And start with ourselves, but it can be something even physical, right?
Absolutely.
Imagine building something in a year time. I might be able to build a house, but in 10 years time I can build a town, if I want to. And that works on yourself as well. In a year time, I can't be a different person than today, completely different person, but I can start the process. Then in 10 years time I can be a completely different person, the actual person I wanted to be. It's hard because it takes time.
And we're very instant gratification. I was like, okay, well, I'm starting my journey. It's January 2nd. I better be done by next January 2nd, right? But in the last year, I can go back and look at the growth that I've made and, look at the little fallbacks and slip ups, but then the regrowth of that. So I can see, how much I've changed from a year ago and how much from a year ago I've changed from 5 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the kind of person that always look back and takes, your grandparents as an example. But look at, all our grandparents and great grandparents. They were setting up on a journey. They knew it would take like 30 to 40 years. They were not swayed like by the market every single 6 months. Like, no, I should be doing this kind of job, this career. I should be investing here. I should be building this house, not the other house. They knew there was a long-term plan. Now, I love that I was not born at that time, because now I like speed, I like change, but you should still approach life as a big journey. It's the journey, it's not the goal. Even if you reach everything tomorrow, even if you reach all your goals tomorrow, what will you do after?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And you do it once, 2, 3 times. Trust me, you'll be so confused. Like, okay, I reached my goals again. Okay, let's start a new plan, and then you reach your goals again. No, that's a whole journey that you're on, from when you're born to when you're gone.
Yes.
So that's a long-term plan. And one of the cool things, having someone you care about and actually projecting your goals and your dreams into that person. It could be your spouse, it could be your parents, your brother and sister, your kids, instead of just staying in your mind, because that's very close-minded, close thinking. When you think about I'm doing it for others, then you do things that you should be doing, but you don't want to do. So those are the most important thing, right? Because if you're just for you, most of the people, they just neglect themselves a bit. I know I should be doing this, but who cares? No one is gonna call me up because it's just for me, so I'm not gonna be doing it. But it's the right thing to do. When you're doing it for others, you're doing, even if you don't like doing it, right? Yes. You become the person, you work on your anger management, because otherwise you're gonna hurt other people, the people you love, right? That was my starting thinking. I'm not doing it because I don't like myself. Honestly, at the beginning, I like myself. I was water polo. Water polo, I was very successful. Yeah, if you tell me, do you like the aspect of you? Like, no, I don't. But it makes me very strong and successful in the water, so I'll keep it. Right?
Yes.
But when I started removing this, mental block and thinking, but I'm hurting my parents, I'm hurting my friends, I'm hurting, anyone that's just around me, is seeing this person going from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds, becoming like dangerous. I could actually physically and mentally, psychologically hurt someone in the future that I really care about. And that was my okay, that's it. I knew it was not something that I could stop tomorrow. And, honestly, that person is still inside me. But now it's very well shaped. I know his face. I call it Furious Freddy. So I talk to him. Sometimes it comes out, but it never takes control. So that's the most important thing.
Yes. Yeah.
It stays in my head every now and then. It disappears in like a minute and it's gone. Or sometimes it needs a bit more to release. So what do? I go start running, I start swimming, I go to the gym. I do things that really release the pressure. And that, to me, everyone is different, right? You can be playing an instrument, playing with your kid, walking your pup, whatever really release the pressure. But now the Furious Freddy, the talk they have, internal dialogue I have, it's a trigger that generate a conscious response. Yes. So it's still there. I don't think I will ever get rid of it. I don't think I want to. It's still part of my personality. And sometimes with this little bit of Furious Freddy, it helped me in not having people taking advantage of me or that kind of stuff. That is still useful, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and anger can be used as motivation as well.
Exactly.
Like once we sit with it, and understand where it's coming from, it can, like anything, can be turned into motivation. We just have to be willing to sit with it and acknowledge it. And I love the name. That's a great idea.
I've done it with many of even my family and friends and clients. Once you get to know them, and you know exactly their basically weakness or what they think they should work on, or the kind of aspect of their mind that takes control and they always regret it later on. So that's the thing you want to name. So my wife is, her name is Sylvia with the S, but her character is Crying Cindy. Because every time something happens, she, instead of me going into anger, she goes into sadness. And she cries, but crying is not a problem. It's more like the attitude that she gets, like a more negative and sad and passive, right? And again, it's a great aspect of her personality because she's a lot more gentle than me. She's a very mother in nature, which is great, but you don't want to get too much of that because otherwise you get too passive, too negative. Her confidence, especially in the teenager years, really reflected this aspect.
Right.
And it's something, right? So ideally, a perfect human being have a great balance of all of these. There is not such a thing, right? Everyone is more everyone is more into something, but as long as you're aware of it and you work on it, it can become your strength or your character or your personality. People will love you for that. I think she loves me even because I have this kind of anger and fire inside of me, and I love her because she's super sweet and gentle. But we help each other in mitigating both.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
aspects, right?
Yeah, and that helps to balance things out, and balance is like the key to everything in life is finding that balance of, mental health and emotional health and physical health and just finding the balance with everything.
Yeah. And the balance for me is never like a 50-50. The balance is your sweet spot. So if let's say physical health is more important to you, it makes you feel so much better than mental health. Maybe your balance is 80-20, right?
Yeah.
For some others, they're very spiritual. They prefer the opposite. They prefer on working on their mind and a lot of meditation and gratitude 80% of the time, and only do a run or a swim, whatever it is, a yoga 20%. That's their balance. Balance is not 50-50 for me when we talk about this stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's a really good thing to point out because I don't think it's 50-50 for anybody, and I think when people automatically think of balance, they think, oh, it's got to be even in order for it to be balanced. But no, it doesn't. It just has to be focused, almost like a focused balance. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like a sustainable pace, sustainable lifestyle, sustainable thinking, right? And if for me, sustainable is 80-20 on one way, it stays there, it's great. It satisfies me. That's my balance. If you try to put 50-50, it will just completely tip off the other way, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so important to, be self-aware and focus on what you need personally to, create those types of balances in all sorts of situations. And, hearing other people's stories for me, again, is a way for me to find balance in areas where I may be a little more unbalanced per se. I have abandonment is my biggest trigger. It's the one that I need to put a name to. I call it lots of names, but I haven't given it a human name yet.
There
But
you go.
And it's the one thing that could send me off into the old mindset, but I'm so aware of it now that and I'm practicing, like, I go to some stoic spaces and they've taught me to do this thing called the pause, right? Which is before you react, because I can react emotionally very quickly. So before I do that, I have to pause. And then I pause, take like 5 minutes, remove myself from the situation, turn my phone off, whatever needs to be done so I can, settle those emotions down and then come back and respond logically instead of reactively.
Yeah, that's super important. I've done a lot of that work because of anger. It's all like a trigger that just it's like a fire or like an explosion. So it's very hard to pause when the explosion is on. You need to pause always before the explosion happens. And there's times it happen anyway, but it's a firecracker instead of like a nuclear bomb.
Yes, yeah.
And then it's all because of the pause. I've done a lot of this pausing, like consciously pausing and doing some breath work in between. That really boosted the pause by like 100%, right? So just pausing sometimes doesn't work, especially on anger, because anger is all about pressure you're putting on yourself. If you only pause, you're just building the pressure in your head. You're not actually you're not doing much. It could be going any direction. Maybe the pause is good and then you're releasing the pressure. It could be just building up. And then the moment you're like, okay, it's enough. But if you take the pause and the chance to actually do some breath work, that will just physiologically actually help. So you do like a 4x4, 4 second in, 4 second out. You sit down instead of standing up in your power pose, whatever it feels like, build your confidence and relaxation. And then just change from day to night to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Someone actually just mentioned to me to add that to my pause. Not long ago, I was talking on my podcast with a lady who specializes in breath work. So she was explaining, like depending on how many counts out, you can actually like activate a different nervous system side of your nervous
Yeah,
system and actually control that and reset it. And I was like, oh well, I need to be blowing out for 7 seconds then, like so.
absolutely.
Yeah, I found it very
Yeah.
helpful, and so now I'm adding that to my pause.
It's incredibly powerful. There's a coffee breathing where it's just a sharp exhale through your nose, and it's actually energize you. All right.
Oh, really?
Uh, yeah,
I need to do that.
like a few cycles, and then relaxing for a few seconds. So there's something
Okay.
you might want to work in the morning, right? Because you don't want to relax. You might just want to
Yeah, yeah,
quickly wake up. And
yeah,
then there is
yeah,
the box breathing. Usually it's the 4x4. You can
yeah.
only do 4x4, or you can do 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, 4-second hold to become a proper box. This is like more for balance. So you can do it
Okay.
anytime. Someone call it the water breathing because it's something you can take it anytime, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
never enough. It's always good during the day, the morning, lunchtime, evening, and so on. And then there is more like the whiskey breathing, not because it gives you like drunk, but because it puts you in a much more relaxing state. So you can do it before going to sleep or actually in bed. I do it in bed, but it's up to you. And it's more like 4 second in and 8 second out.
Okay.
That doesn't need to be a double as long as more count out.
Yeah.
So you're releasing a lot more CO2,
Yeah,
and
that
there's a good,
little bit of trapped air that doesn't move around much in the bottom of
yeah,
your lungs. Yeah.
and it's incredibly powerful and relaxing. So you can do coffee breathing in the morning, water breathing during the day whenever you want to get the more balance, and then whiskey breathing at night. Literally, all of them might take like 2 minutes if you want to each time, or even
Yeah.
one, right? And
Yeah.
it really, really helps with your whole mood throughout the whole day. You want more energy, you want more more rest, more relax. Anything you want, more balance.
Oh, that's
It's
awesome to know.
life changing.
Thank you for sharing that because like I need to I have an open s- coping toolbox and I'm always trying to add more things into it, like and discard some of the old ones and replace it with something new. And I wasn't really sure about like the breathing exercises. I've done them to calm down when I'm like super upset or whatever, but I need to do it more as a routine. And I like the
Yeah,
way you put it. It's like coffee and then like throughout the day, whenever, and then go to sleep with a shot of whiskey.
yeah, absolutely. Right. It's visual, it's powerful, it's all you need. Sometimes you need to keep things simple. You don't want to overcomplicate or have like a billion tools in your arsenal. It's a classic guy that has like a shack with like a billion different hammers is not going to use
Yeah,
not
yeah,
even one of them.
yeah, yeah,
and,
exactly.
and
You
then
need the
it's
hammer and
there.
a mallet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the same. As long as you use them, you can have billion things, but if you show me that you're using them and they're beneficial to you, great. But most of the people, they need to keep it simple because life is complicated anyway.
Yes,
So
I'm a big
you
fan
really
of
wanna,
simplifying.
yeah. And
Yeah.
having a system that works, and then talking to people you might introduce in the future as a different system. But don't jump boat to boat every time you hear something, because then
Yes.
you're not
Yeah.
gonna go anywhere.
Yeah, no, for sure. You have to definitely be discerning and figure out what it is that works for you and then practice that and not kind of
Practice
jump
it.
on the bandwagon or the trend of the week kind of thing.
So can I? This is a good hook. I don't want to promote myself, but that's actually the thinking I had when I was coaching people one-on-one for years, and then I was coaching myself, as I mentioned, right? But I never found one single system for me on my mindset that really stick to me, and I could just do that one forever, right? I was always doing 6 months of meditation, 6 months of yoga, 6 months of CBT, and then 2 months of this and that. A lot of journaling here and there, but never been consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in a 20 years time, only because I put so much effort in myself, I saw huge results. But I cannot tell you, is there one thing that really helped me 90% of it? No, just it's a bunch of things. Honestly, from an efficiency point of view, it's been very, very bad. Just very diluted. So what triggered me is like, I need to find something that I like, is enjoyable. I can actually see results, and I can do it for long term. And I found it physically when I transitioned from just mostly swimming and general gym to CrossFit. I don't know if you're aware of the CrossFit methodology, but it came out in the 2000, and even before the 2000, people were training anywhere. So they were doing powerlifting or normal weightlifting. They were doing gymnastics. They were doing running club, swimming, sport like soccer, football, baseball, and so on. But there was no one that could actually do all of them at the same time, right?
Right.
And I thought it was similar to me. There is everything now accessible, and it's great. It's been going on for decades, if not centuries, right? But there is not one methodology that incorporates all of them and can actually track your results, similar to CrossFit.
Right.
You can do one workout and you can do a bunch of everything in a CrossFit workout, but at the end you have a number, a value that if you repeated the same workout in 6 months or a year time, if you're getting better or worse, right? So that's one of the most important things. If you want to change and heal, you want to see results, right? Not just in your head. Yeah, I feel better. How valuable it is, right? Or you rely on someone else. Your therapist, like, I think you're getting better now. Like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So what I did, I basically took this kind of mindset and methodology and applied to mindset training. So I'm building an app now. I call it Allos, from allostasis. It's a process where you always go between 3 phases. But that's a different thing. That's just a name. But my methodology is the same for your mindset. I call it's like CrossFit for the mind. So you do exercises daily or whenever you want, similar to physical exercises, but for your mindset. And you can track them. You can give a value to each exercise. You can repeat them over time and see if you're actually getting better. And you can focus on the thing that really matters to you. You really want to focus on positivity. You're going to select a few things that are really focusing just on positivity. There is a resilience, there is a negativity, there is anger management. In the future, I want to do even something more like focus on targeting, like maybe moms after birth,
Right.
Firefighters under stress, something really targeted to a specific kind of person. I just need time. I know to do it. It's just very time consuming to do it. But the whole platform is being built as we speak in the last few months.
That's so cool. That is so
very
awesome.
Cool I have courses that now you can do it on PDF, but and they teach you basically the same thing, but they're not as user friendly as having an app, a proper app on your phone where you can actually log your scores and keep the scores there. You can share and build some community, because I can send you my workout and you can try it and see if it works for you. And we can compare results. I'm getting better in my anger management, and you're like, oh, I need to work a bit more. How often are you working out? 2 times a week. Maybe I increase to 3. And you can select how much time you want to work. It could be 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 2 hours a day. It's up to you. Similar to physical training, right? So you focus on what matters to you, how often you want, and it keeps track of your results and your progress.
Oh my God, I have to get that. I love that idea. That is so awesome. Will you send me the link for it? And then I'll also, when I do the show, when I God, I can't talk anymore. When I post the show, I'll put it in the show notes so everyone else can go and take a look at it, because that sounds amazing.
I built 2 courses on PDF just to show you the methodology. It's a lot of stuff going on. So both of them are 6 weeks program. Okay. One is more like beginner friendly, one is more advanced on your mindset, but every week we'll have a different methodology. So you go over a lot of different methodology. So the idea is like to get a taste of what my methodology is that's going to be incorporated in the app. But it's more than a taste, because if you do both of them, it's 12 weeks full on, 3 times a week training. With all the what to do, what not to do, how to scale it. Because another cool thing is that each workout is scalable from beginner to advanced.
Okay, that's really cool.
And again, similar to lifting weight, right? You cannot start. If I've been lifting weight for 20 years, of course, I lift more weight than you. but we can do the same workout at the same time, working on the same goal. I'm just on different stages, right?
Yes. Yeah, I love that.
So they're free because I want more people to be exposed to this methodology, because honestly, it's a new thing, and until you actually do it and you actually read and actually practice on yourself, you don't realize how beneficial it may be. So I'm giving it, both of them, away for free. So I'll send it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out, because I'm always, you
can offer.
Yeah, for sure, because I'm always willing, I'm always wanting to learn, and not only for myself, but so that I have more information to help others with, right?
Yeah.
So that's
I'm
awesome.
a big believer that you should just give all your information that you have away for free.
Yes.
And if people want and they come back to you, then what you can sell and you can offer as a professional, because we still need to pay the bills, right?
Yes.
But what you can offer is the implementation. I can offer you in actually implementing what I know in a better way, or just for you. It's and my app will be that kind of sort of, right? I want to offer my methodology out for free to anyone, anytime. If you want to then subscribe to the app later on, there's going to be a free version for sure, but then maybe a premium version.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Like a normal app that will give
you. Yeah, like with everything, right? Purchases within. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, sort of like.
Well, congratulations on doing that. And, I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I've learned so much, and I love your travel stories, and, it's been really nice meeting you finally.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for your time. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Jody. Thank you so much. And, if I leave some parting words, just get out there and build your confidence, stay positive, because it's a world of abundance. There is so much you could be doing it. Don't feel trapped in your mind, in your house, in your job, in your town. And like you said, Jody, that you like talking to people, that because you really see what people can do. Doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter what happened to them. And you just feel there is no way you cannot feel that kind of gratitude on yourself. Even if you have had the worst experience in your life, there's millions of people that are much, much worse than you, and millions of people that from that situation became the most beautiful person that helped everyone else.
Yes, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Stay positive. It's a world of abundance. Keep working on it.
Absolutely. And thank you for putting yourself into the world and doing all that work and supporting so many people.
No, thank you, Jody. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome, my friend. We'll talk again soon.
Cheers.
Okay, Teres, take care.
Thank you for listening to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast with your host, Jody Betty. If you enjoyed today's show, please give it a like, and don't forget to smash that subscribe button. And if you appreciate the work I do, why not buy me a coffee? Details in the show notes. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Dorian Kent and produced by Jody Betty and Dorian Kent. This has been a Raw and Open production.